another episode of Behind the Breakthrough. Excited for today's call. We have a good friend of ours, Mr. Anthony Kusky, who's going to be joining us here. Just a moment. He's going to be talking about his journey to success with self-storage, the path that he took, some of his biggest keys to success. And so I'm excited for you to hear from him. He's a fellow Insider member. Let's see. We have some quick updates here just to share with all of you guys. For those who we've had Shane and I, a few people reaching out in regard to our September event. We've been posting in the network. We're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. This is specifically for our insiders group. So if you currently own a deal or have a pretty extensive real estate background and you're looking to surround yourself with other high achievers like Mr. Kusky, who's here with us today, and you want to be in the room with us, the Insiders Mastermind group, that is actually how you attend those live retreats. We do 2 of them every year. We do one in the spring and the fall. We bring in a whole bunch of industry professionals. There's a lot of networking. There's a lot of activities, and the whole structure of the event is to help you transform both personally and professionally. So we're excited. That's coming up this September. We have Storage Rebellion University group coaching call happening tonight, or I shouldn't say tonight, this evening at 4 p.m. with Shane Chapin. So if you're in the university, don't forget that call is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not in the university, you're newer to self-storage, you're looking for some support getting your first deal underway, highly recommend checking out the university. It's only $97 a month. There's no contracts or commitments. Every single week you get to join a group coaching call, bring all your questions to the table. You also get access to our accelerated course, help you develop that foundation for success, along with all of our contracts and templates and tools, a whole bunch of cool stuff. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me in regard to that. All of that said, Anthony Kusky, welcome to the call today. So excited you're here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope I didn't jump in too soon and get my head. Looks like I'm kind of overlapping you there.
No, you're perfect, man. Thanks so much for taking time to share your story with us. Let's do this. For those who have not yet met you, can you give us the quick background on yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself and then where you were prior to storage and maybe where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, my name is Anthony Kusky. I'm based out of Melbourne, Florida, married. I have a 19 and a 16-year-old right now, soon to be 17-year-old. And so pretty much work from home. And so I'm here most of the time, besides my short trips to the gym, coach high school baseball, which stepping back a little bit from that this coming season, but still supporting. So I've been doing that for about 10 years. And came from a real estate broker here in Florida. I do not act on the traditional sense. I'm 100% on the investor side of it. Did about 20 years of single family wholesaling, started in 2004, progressed into mobile home parks for a short bit of time, and then now into storage. And so I know we'll get into this into the call, so I don't want to take too much away from it, but kind of the short version of where I am. Very active in my church. Faith is really kind of our pinnacle of our family, and pretty much all our decisions get based off of that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, we want to dive into the storage success. So take us back to deal number 1, and we can kind of progress to where you are today. But let's talk about that first one. That's for so many of us who are getting started, and maybe some folks I see in the participants here. There's some folks that are getting ready to take down that first deal. So I would love to hear a little bit more about it, how you found it, what it looks like, and then we can even dive into some of that or some of those biggest lessons learned throughout that first deal that likely still serve you today.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump just a hair back, because I remember you originally posted going from mobile home parks to self-storage and then wholesaling to self. So it was a progression through a few of them. And I think it's important of my decision of why I picked self-storage over mobile home parks, because I think both assets are excellent. And I remember after 20 years of single family wholesaling and moving into mobile home parks and bringing some guys along the ride with me, that I got to the point where I was sick of bringing people along the ride with me. And even though it's great to invest in people and I love to do that, I sometimes did that to a fault. And so I remember my wife sitting there and I sitting there and trying to decide after having 2 mobile home parks, turning them around a little bit, having some partners and having a bit of frustration and saying, what can we do that we can systemize the best? What can we do that's going to give us really the lifestyle that we want and not having
Mhm.
to be there all the time, not having to, just be as hands-on. And that's where self-storage kind of allowed us to have that automation. And so that
Mhm.
was our first step into self-storage. And that was sometime around 2021, I want to say.
Mhm.
Beginning of 2022, I jumped into Storage Rebellion, and I remember January of 2022. I think I bought Mike's at the time. Your guys' package, it was on sale for about $500,
Yeah.
down from $800, and I just consumed, and started taking action. And so started writing letters, handwritten. Got really nothing from it.
Mhm.
Decided just to go the shotgun approach, and I went ahead and sent out, I don't even know, a few thousand letters, just generic.
Mhm.
And I had a deal come to me in Mississippi, Vicksburg, Mississippi. So it was a small 7,500 square foot facility, 48 units, mobile home on the lot that the owner was living in. And yeah, at that time, you want me to get into the details of it, Chris?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it for sure.
Okay. So yeah, 7,500 square feet. It was currently at about $2,000 a month was the gross income. Seller wanted $350,000.
Mhm.
Obviously, it didn't make sense at that point. Um, but his rates were about half of what they should have been.
Mm.
So at the time, I was in, Ascend, I think before coming to you guys. So I had some other coaching there with it and had some guys, we discussed the deal. And basically I looked at it and said, if I can double the rents in 2 years, it should be worth, and get up to about 4,200 a month, it should be worth roughly in the 400,000 range. Based on, or 479 it was. And I said, all right, 2 years, about 100,000 equity a year. Is it worth my time for $100,000 a year? Which absolutely it was. And so went back and forth with the seller. He would not come down at all on price. And so we got creative and did seller financing with 0% interest.
Mm.
We did do 10% down, and I did fund that at that time out of my own cash. But we did 0% interest, which helped to offset the cost of the property by paying a little more than we needed to. And so did
Mm.
a 2-year seller finance in that. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, so this was just your typical mom
Yeah.
and pop seller. It was a map, and he had pins on his map of what was rented, what was not. Uh,
That's how
yeah,
you know you
screenshots.
probably got something.
Yeah. Screenshots of his spreadsheets that he sent me,
Yeah.
or not even screenshots, text messages of his spreadsheets, and people that haven't paid literally in 5 years that he
Mm.
hadn't kicked out. And so
Mm.
it was just exactly what we were looking for,
Yeah.
and it was my proof of concept.
Yeah, for sure. Were you bad? I mean, going into that first one, I know you had some real estate experience, but I'm curious, stepping into storage for the first time, that being your first deal, were there any self-doubts or limiting beliefs you had to maybe overcome to get through that first deal? I'm not sure if there's things that you remember that come to mind during that time.
Yeah, I've a lot of times I'm analytical, and I'm
Hmm.
also ready, fire, aim. So I am both of those, which creates a lot of distress in me sometimes, where I overanalyze, but yet I'm just like, screw it, let's go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of fear going into it, and I think there still is at times of, I reviewed a deal with another experienced operator yesterday where he reached out to me, and he does a ton of deals. And so
Hmm.
I think there's always that question, that apprehension. But I think that for it wasn't a home run. I knew it was a single or a double. I
Hmm.
knew without taking this action that it wouldn't get me to where I wanted to be. So it was worthwhile to step into that fear a little bit and move forward with it.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about So you did your first deal. Did you feel some momentum after that? Like from what point did you close that first deal and move on to the second one?
Okay, so I started, as I said, January 2022, closed my
Mm-hmm.
first deal September of 2022, so 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I remember closing, going up there, hiring my boots on the ground that then no-showed me and just ghosted me. And hired my second, which is the husband and wife that have still been there, been amazing. But I remember getting that first text from ESS. And I remember seeing that and saying, wow, we just rented a unit. And to myself, I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this stuff really works. And so it was one of those things where would I buy another 7,500 square foot deal? I don't know. Probably not, unless it was close to something I own. But if I didn't buy that first deal, I would not have the confidence to where I'm at now to buy that second deal, which did give me some momentum. That was February of 2023. I bought my second deal, and that
Mm-hmm.
was about 28,000 square feet. Third deal fell in my lap off of the first one in the same town. Facebook message, this guy reached out to me and said, I heard you bought this facility. And then fourth one bought in June or July of 2023. So really
Mm.
bought four of them in the matter of a year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you are you still in acquisition mode right now, or are you kind of just optimizing what you have? Like, where are you currently at?
We're in both. We're definitely in acquisition mode. I'm looking at deals every single day. We've, already got a couple deals I'm reviewing now. We're still sending
Mhm.
letters. We do text message marketing, which we're still doing that. But,
Yeah.
talking to sellers every day. I have a few calls for today. And so we took about a year. We were fostering, which we still do, but we had a 3-year-old for about a year and a half. And so really that was my time. I spent a lot of time with her, a lot of time coaching baseball. And
Mm.
so even though we were trying to acquire last year, we just didn't see too much that really penciled for what we were looking for.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we're out there, man. This is my future. And so
Yeah,
I see the growth.
I love it, dude. And as far as like what I'm curious to hear what you're currently seeing, because we know like the storage market has definitely shifted over the past few years. What are you seeing now versus when you started? And are there specific things you might be doing to overcome maybe some of the competition or the challenges within the storage market right now?
As far as filling or as far as acquisition?
Acquisitions.
Um, it's definitely been a challenge for acquisitions. Absolutely. It's been, we still do the text message marketing, which has gotten much, much slower, but it's still a quick, easy way for us to go ahead and talk to sellers. But it's
Mhm.
also, 1 or 2% response rate. So it's gotten down to the response of direct mail. What I'm trying to do in all my conversations is like focus on helping people. There was
Yeah.
a guy yesterday. We're off $500,000, and I still gave him Catherine DeAugustino's number because he has 30,000 square foot of a flea market. Doesn't know what to do with. He paid too much for it. He has an RV park, and so we just talked for 30 minutes and tried to guide
Hmm.
him. And is anything ever going to come to it? Probably not. Not what he owes, but it's just trying to help people and have conversations.
Yeah.
And so that's really been my focus is, what can I do to help you? And
Hmm.
something comes of it, great, but let me just talk to you and, hopefully meet you face to face and we go from there.
Yeah, I love that approach. It's actually something I've adopted over the past year or so because especially with the market, I should say as far as buyers coming into self storage, it's becoming very competitive to an extent, and I think sellers are just constantly hearing the same thing over and over. And it's just people, hey, do you want to sell? Are you considering selling? And it just makes it really hard for investors coming in because sellers have heard it already. And so, like, you kind of stepping away from that and looking to bring value to them, I think is massively important and valuable and probably increases your likelihood for success. And at the end of the day, if you could form a relationship, which you're likely to do through adding value, you just never know what can transpire from
Hmm.
that. Might not be soon. It could be 6 months from here. It could be 3 years from now. But as you know, and you've done real estate for a while, a lot happens in that follow up. It's usually not in the moment when you call them, but down the road,
Right.
something transpires from it. And so I love that approach. I'm curious. I want to ask you a personal question. I don't know if you've experienced this or not. Have you ever felt like quitting? And if you have, I'm curious what helped push you through that.
I don't know if I felt like quitting because after I've definitely struggled and definitely had doubts of
Hmm.
100% with that. But when I look at, like, we have rate increases going out next month, I've already put them in. I mean, there's another $100,000 in, value into our facilities from just doing those rate increases. So I am full on in belief that this is our retirement, this is our future. I look at how our net worth has grown over the last few years. So I don't see that, but I definitely can see myself struggling to fall back into some of the wholesaling, which we do a little bit, but honestly, I'm about to, I think, retire that 100%. And even getting into, I'm going to look at a house today to rehab a house. So I still do enjoy some of that stuff. But
Hmm.
then I also struggle with is going to rehab that house going to take away from my acquisition? And I can make 30 grand on one house, but over 6 months, or I can make 30 grand on one wholesale deal, or
Yeah.
500 grand in equity off of one storage deal in a matter of a couple of years. So I
Hmm.
think there's always that, what's comfortable and how we want to move back into it, and being
Hmm.
aware of those thoughts and being aware of what's driving them. And is it a real fear is it something real, or is it just fear that's driving? Um,
Yeah.
we've heard
I,
the faith and fear, and they both have the same meaning. And so
mhm.
I struggle with both, and I'm just trying to step into faith and say, man, even over this last year, God continues to provide. We continue to grow. Our facilities are all doing great. They're all, 90-ish to 95%, except for one, which we just had 6 move-ins this month. So we even got
That's
over the
awesome.
60s in that. So, we're continuing to move forward, man.
Yeah, I love that, dude. And I could tell, and just based on our conversation too, it sounds like, I mean, you're putting in a lot of effort. You're putting in the time for it. Like you said, this is something that you plan on making a retirement. This is for long term. I'd be interested to know, as far as like, all of this kind of falls under that category of habits, routines, beliefs, a lot of what we're talking
Hmm.
about here. And I'd be curious to tap into that a little bit more, because that, I believe, plays the biggest role in our success. So can you maybe tell us first a little bit about maybe how much time you put towards self-storage? Because I know some people, especially newer folks, get hung up on like, well, how much time do I really have to dedicate towards this to be successful? And we see like a wide range, right? But I'd be curious to hear a little bit about your routine and how much goes into growing your business, acquisitions, all of that.
Yeah. If you ask my wife, she'd say I work all the time. I'm pretty, it's usually because by the time she gets up, I'm, back from the gym and all that, but I'm pretty diligent in my time. Get up, quiet time in the morning, which I don't put a timer on that. So if
Hmm.
I get up 6 or 6:30 and it's an hour and a half, 2 hours of quiet time and reading and devotional time, I have that. Traditionally, we'll go to the gym 5 days a week. Now that my shoulder's healing, it's maybe 3 days a week, and just kind of doing some cardio stuff. And then I try to get working somewhere around 10:30 ish. I may sometimes jump a little bit in the morning, but I would say I am upstairs at we call this my workstation for, 4 to 6, probably 6 hours a day. How much of it is specific acquisitions? How much of it is in the business versus on the business?
Hmm.
I would say can be questioned, but I would say I'm 4 to 6 hours, 4 to 5 days a week.
Hmm.
Um, so I treat it like a job, but I'm looking at it more like I'm looking at rates. I'm constantly rate
Yeah.
managing. I remember at the last, maybe 2 retreats ago, Matt came out, said, what are good operators? What are not good operators? And I took some of those and I'm like, man, let me look at my rates every couple weeks. What's going on?
Hmm.
Hey, we're down a little bit this month on move-ins. I changed the special. Does that have something to do with it? So I'm constantly aware of that. I'm constantly trying to stay on my boots on the ground, and just the management side of it, to make sure that we're operating a business and
Hmm.
not just having a hobby of self-storage.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, man. And I know, like, there's a lot of different things that correspond and relate to your success. And I think newer folks getting involved in self storage, it's just like business focus, which is okay, but we also know there's other things that contribute to business success. And I heard you talk about your routine and exercise and your faith. And I think all of those are massive contributors. I'd be curious to hear more about what do you feel as far as like some of your habits or routines that maybe some of those personal things that have had the biggest contribution to your business success?
I mean, I'd be remiss not to say it's my faith is the biggest thing.
Mhm.
Without that, you can't fight the mental battle. And real estate, storage, any business to be successful is a mental battle. And if I didn't have
Mhm.
my grounding in my faith, I would not be, not be where I am. And just supporting my wife, really. I mean, she
Mhm.
sometimes has to smack me around a little bit and, one, push me to my potential, but two is just be like she's had to tell me many times in our life, like, why are you worrying? Has God not always taken care of us? Even in the worst of times, have we gone without food? Have we gone without this? Have we gone without that? Absolutely
Mhm.
not. And yeah, so really just grounding in my faith, I would say, is the biggest thing. And then I'll tell you what Shane and I mentioned yesterday, that Ed Milet,
Yeah.
Power of One More, that
Oh
sticks
yeah.
in my head. So these days where I don't feel like making one more call, or I'm like, you know what, let me just call one more person. Let me just, text
Mhm.
one more seller. Let me do one more of these to help get me, to where I say want to be.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I've actually adopted that as well after reading that book, and actually listening to Ed Milet and his podcast has become part of my morning routine. He gets me fired up, and I think there's just so much value in the things that he says. But the cool thing about the power of one more is like the more you keep adding on one more, you start to almost you get to a point where you're doing things where maybe a year ago you never thought you'd be capable of doing them because you just it's
Hmm.
almost that slow progression of pushing yourself and slowly becoming more and more and more. But without that mindset, like it becomes really easy just to, okay, I did enough today, right? Like I could take a break
Hmm.
today, and then you fall into that routine, and that can possibly create some other habits, poor habits. But the other question I want to ask you here is, if you had to start over tomorrow, you got no deals. What are
Hmm.
going to be maybe the first few things that you're going to do? Maybe three things that come to mind to help you launch your storage business as quickly as possible.
So the newest thing I've been doing that has been the biggest growth thing for me has been talking to brokers.
Hmm.
And I know an ex-rebel, I think he's still ex-rebel anyway. I know one of our old rebels mentioned it many times, and maybe he's still in the group, but he's, relationship with brokers. And so I've been reaching out when I get a deal. I'll respond to them. I may look at it. I may say, hey, I'll give them a ballpark. This is why, this is not why. Or just having conversation. And I just had a conversation the other day with one. So reaching out to brokers, stuff is on the market. I don't care what people say about that. And I'm kicking myself in the butt too on this. I'm trying to do this more. There's stuff out there. If it's listed, they want to sell. If it's been listed for 3 months or 6 months, they really want to sell. So these
Mm-hmm.
are opportunities for you. And even if the offer is not where it needs to be, just tell them, hey, look, I tell the guys, I highly leverage my properties. I need buffer in these. I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to use my money. I use somebody else's money. I need to have this
Mm-hmm.
spread. And so I would say that's the first thing. Um, Obviously, community. You can't do this without community. Those and insiders that have squads and utilize them can't do it without that. So community and relationships are going to be number two. And I've said number three multiple times is just taking the action to do number one and number two. It's
Yeah.
like just keep, without that sounding bad, but yeah, just be out there, make
Yeah.
the phone
Dude,
calls.
I love that. That's massively valuable, especially the brokers, right? I think and I've talked about this in the past too, right? Like there's facilities that are listed. A lot of them are not deals, but then you do come across facilities, like you said, been listed for 6 months, 8 months. Guess what? Their motivation to sell is only growing and growing. And so like just reach out to the broker, and very similar to what Anthony said, hey, I'm
Mhm.
interested in this deal, but it just doesn't make sense at these numbers. Here's what I would or where I would need to be. you just never know where the seller is at that point. The broker's talking to the seller, and they might say, hey, we did get this offer, and they might just take it. And so, and plus you're building those relationships with the brokers, and they know what you're starting to look for, which is helpful. Dude, I love it. And the last question I have for you here, if you could speak directly to somebody who's feeling stuck or unsure right now, what advice would you give them?
Use the group. Like I've been calling out, and there's been a couple call outs this week to people to utilize the group. Ask questions, wait for answers, and if people don't answer, ask again. Like, don't give up on that first hey, because we all get busy, we all miss things. Sometimes the group can be just another app on our phone, but if we're not intentional in doing it, then we're not going to get anywhere further. So accountability.
Yeah. I love that. And one of the things that I really, really love about you is you're one of those folks who is always showing up, always commenting on other people's posts. You're always trying to bring value and support one another. And we just love having folks like you in this community. So I do appreciate all that you do, how you show up, and how you support other people. How can people connect with you outside of the network? Do you have Instagram or social media they can follow you on?
Yeah. I mean, you can search me on Instagram at Faith Family Flipping, or just email me ak@sellstorage.net, SELL storage.net. And of course, I mean, my number's in the network, but shoot me a text too as well, 407-923-8890. I'm pretty, I'll ask Britt. I'll take time and I'll talk to you. I have no issue with that. Sometimes I get into a fault, but I'm all about relationship and community. So whatever I can do to help out.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Thank you again for taking time to be here and bring value to our group. We got 29 folks on the call right now. Nice. And looking forward to connecting in Nashville in just a few months. But again, thanks so much, man. Have a good week, and look forward to connecting soon.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.